How big of a loss will this be for the Oklahoma Sooners?
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Sooner Nation? Welcome to Locked On Sooners, a special Saturday morning edition of Locked On Sooners. Thank you for joining me. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You can get in on a big return with FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win that first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. I'm John Williams, and shout out to all the everydayers that tune in to Locked On Sooners every single day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So the Oklahoma Sooners go into this game against Missouri favored, according to the latest lines, by a field goal. And that's interesting considering they started the week as a 2.5, some places 3.5 point underdog on the road against Missouri. Well, some interesting injury nuggets came out in the Friday SEC availability report. The most interesting for the Oklahoma Sooners, Jovante Barnes is out. And I know earlier in the week, we talked about how maybe this is going to be a little bit of gamesmanship by Brent Venables when they listed Jovante Barnes as questionable on the initial injury report. Well, he out, and that's a big loss for the Sooners. He's been Oklahoma's best offensive player dating back to the South Carolina game, where you see that he rushed 17 times for 70 yards, averaged 4.1 yards per carry. Against Ole Miss, he had over 120 total yards. He was really, really good in that game. And then obviously against Maine, ran for 200 yards. Probably should have come out if he was dinged up, but it's hard to tell players to sit down if they're telling you they're good to go. I know as a coach, I've seen that in the past. As a player, I've played through injuries before as well, but you don't realize potentially what that could do for you in the moment. You just want to get back out there and play, right? So it's not anybody's fault. It's just one of those situations where it's like hindsight's 2020, and you wish you would have maybe been a little bit more conscientious of the injury if you're the player, maybe a little bit more conservative if you're the coach, or at least not worry about getting him 200 yards. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is there, but again, hindsight's always going to be 2020 in these situations, and woulda, shoulda, coulda. Here we are. So that creates an opportunity, right? One guy gets dinged up, one guy's sitting out, and it creates an opportunity. Gavin Sawchuk's also listed as questionable, but he hasn't really been productive in the offense this season when given the opportunity earlier in the year. And yes, it's a different offense now. The run game is starting to come alive now. So if he gets opportunities, don't shake your head and point your finger at the TV and scream. It's just things are a little bit different now. So maybe he can have a little bit better success with the way the offense is running right now. But if not, if you're not going to give Gavin Sawchuk the start, if he's not going to be available to play, that creates an opportunity for Taylor Tatum, the former, top running back in his class. Taylor Tatum's shown the ability to be an impactful player at the running back position. He's got good elusiveness, good quickness, good agility, good speed on the outside. Get him the ball in space, and he can make some things happen for you. The only issues that we've seen with him have been ball security and pass protection. Now, it's a developmental game. Who he is as a player right now isn't the same player that he was 2 weeks ago, a month ago, 6 weeks ago. So hopefully he's gotten better in that respect, because you need your running backs in pass pro, unless you just plan to use them in the route concept every time, which I'm fine with. If you don't want to use your running back in pass pro, that's cool. Just get him out in route quick, get him out in space, and have Arnold get the ball out of his hands quick. So you're not having to rely on your running backs and pass protection. There's ways to scheme around bad pass pro running backs. You can figure that out. If you're smart enough, you can work around that. It doesn't have to completely kill your offense. But I think it also creates an opportunity for Xavier Robinson, who every time he's gotten into the football game has made an impact. Literally, he is an impactful player because he is just running through dudes. He saw a few snaps at the end of the Texas game, did the same thing, just runs really, really hard. And then obviously this past week against Maine, he was playing at a different level physically, and his speed is just different. Based on what we saw against an FCS team. Now, going up against a Missouri team, that's a much higher level of competition and a much more physical team, a really, really good run defense that they've got. They're stout up front along the interior, and they have really, really strong edges. So it's not going to be the same thing. If Xavier Robinson gets out there, he's going to have a little bit tougher of a challenge. But I think if Oklahoma can create some space, let him get downhill, let him get to the second level, then he could be a problem for Missouri's defense. And I'm ready to see it, man. I'm ready to see Xavier Robinson get some extended action. He's earned it, I think, with the way that he's played in the short time that he's played. And because you haven't gotten to see much success with Gavin Sawchuk, Sam Franklin's been kind of hit or miss in the offense. Why not, man? Why not run with your true freshman at running back with Taylor Tatum, with Xavier Robinson, and see what happens? I mean, LSU has given the run game to Caden Durham, their true freshman running back, former 4-star prospect, one of the best prospects in the 2024 class. Oklahoma was recruiting him too. They've given it to him. They've said, you're our lead back. You're our best running back. There's no reason to limit your workload. We're going to ride you. And it's been successful for him. He's had some big games for the LSU Tigers. No reason to go conservative and be concerned about, hey, it's just a true freshman. No, just run them out there, man. See what they can do. Give them the opportunity and let them create for you. Let them create offense and get yourself into some manageable, second and third down so that you're keeping ahead of the chains, keeping some offensive momentum, and can move the ball. Oklahoma's been efficient over the last 2 weeks with Joe John Finley as the play caller and Kevin Johns as the quarterback's coach. I know it's just Maine, but they were efficient in the first half against Ole Miss. They didn't make some adjustments, or Ole Miss made adjustments, and Oklahoma couldn't counter those in the second half. And that led to a really stagnant third quarter. But then they found some success again in the fourth quarter. So, it's a developing offense. It's not perfect by any means. It's better than what it was. And I know we can't completely take, everything we saw against Maine and apply it to this week or the future, but they showed some productive things. And if they can continue to have confidence and play with confidence like that, getting Jalil Farouk and Deion Burks back, that's going to help them out a lot. Obviously, Jovante Barnes out is going to be a killer for the Sooners offense because he's just been so good. But if Taylor Tatum can step his game up, if Xavier Robinson shows that he's ready for the big time, stage on a prime time outing against Missouri, I think you can cook, man. The offensive line's done a really, really good job for whoever's been running the ball. So now it's time. Now it's time for your true freshman to step up. Eli Bowen's done it. Jaden Jackson's done it. We've seen true freshmen step up at different times. Michael Hawkins Jr. did it against Auburn. We've seen him step up at times throughout the season. Now it's time for the running backs to step up as well. Brady Cook is going to be out for Missouri. He was ruled out on Friday night, and that is a big loss for the Tigers. He's one of the better quarterbacks in the SEC, at least top half, right? He's at least a top 7 or 8 quarterback in the SEC. He's played some really, really good ball this year, shown a lot of toughness. He's a big time leader for that program, and that's going to be a big loss for them. Nate Noel, their lead running back, he is probable for the game, so that's going to help Drew Pine and the Missouri Tigers offense out quite a bit, but we'll see. Can Oklahoma get Drew Pine into some second and long, third and long situations where he's forced to throw the ball to the sticks and not able to live in the short game? If they can do that, if they can slow the run game down, which I think that they will, because they've slowed every run game down this season, save for Texas. If they can slow the run game down, if they can keep Missouri into some second and third and long situations, then they've got a really, really good chance to really make this a game that the defense has a lot of success and sets the offense up for a big win where they can earn some bowl eligibility. They can set themselves up potentially for a strong finish to the season. Because, hey, Alabama, LSU, 2 really, really, really tough teams. But if you win this game, it gives you a lot of confidence going into the bye week that maybe you can build on and then pull off an upset over the final 2 weeks of the season to finish the season strong. So it's not going to be an easy game. Missouri Tigers have a ton of talent. Luther Burden, Theo Weiss, those guys can beat you if you're not careful. So as much as it's about slowing down the run game, it's about also not letting those guys create big plays over the top and losing your assignments, just losing your keys. If they can stay assignment sound, I think Oklahoma is going to have a lot of success in this game on the defensive side of the ball. And that's going to do it for this special injury update edition of Locked On Sooners. We look forward to breaking it down with you after the game live here on the Locked On Sooners podcast with Jay. He'll be with us, and we'll be live on YouTube. The podcast will post in your podcast feeds as well. later that night. And you'll have that available for you Sunday morning if you're traveling back from the game. I hope you have a lot of fun on Saturday night. Hey, it's a big time historical matchup. I'm not going to say it's a rivalry. It's a historical matchup that dates back to 1902. They've played 96 times. So it should be a lot of fun to see Oklahoma and Missouri back on the field together once again. But until next time, I'm John Williams. We will talk to you about this game live on YouTube after the game. Boomer Sooners.